is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Your war room for insider news and draft analysis from deep within the confines of Cowboys headquarters at the Star in Frisco.
Dallas selects Emmitt Smith, running back from Florida.
And now your hosts, David Hellman, Jeff Kavanaugh, Kevin Turner, and Kyle Yeomans.
A cloudy Thursday, actually. I almost said Wednesday. I've got all my days mixed up. But it's a cloudy Thursday at the Star in Frisco. We're live from inside the Star at the SWBC Mortgage Studio. 63 days until the NFL Draft and a week until drills at Lucas Oil Stadium. The NFL Combine is right around the corner, but the Draft Show continues. Jeff Kavanaugh alongside Kevin Turner, and David Hellman is back.
Yeah.
Welcome back, buddy.
Thanks, man.
I'm glad to have you back.
Yeah, I got some draft beers in New Orleans last week. Like, does that count as the draft coverage?
Yes,
I feel like it would.
And I appreciate that because I was not watching tape last week. I have to admit.
you don't have to apologize.
Good to be
There's
back.
Plenty
though.
of time left for you to
I got time
to catch up on anything that you might have missed. But I'm just glad that the four of us could come back and combine our brains together and get after it.
That was rough.
He told me he was going to do that, and I still wasn't ready for it.
Wow.
Well, then you've got
planned.
Jeff Kavanaugh in the corner, all dappered up today. Look at that.
Got to tell you, I'm surprised you guys don't realize I've always been a big suit guy.
Have you really? Or is
Yeah, I
that a
love to
joke?
wear the suits. Pretty much do it every day, except when I come up here. I thought today I would do what I normally do, which is wear suits.
You wear
On the
trucker
radio.
hats and Miller Lite work shirts.
It's picture day at work.
every day. Yeah,
it's
there we
picture
go.
day at work. Had some changes made. Got to update the photos. So.
Okay.
Yeah, had to dapper up a little bit for the photos, but
No time for a haircut though, so we're gonna be sloppy.
yeah.
we're gonna be
that's rough.
sloppy.
That's okay.
I
At
got
least
some
you don't have
product.
the hat on. You
Yeah.
could have put the hat on.
I got some product in the bag. I'll fix that up when I leave here. Yeah.
Slick that stuff back a little bit.
Well, no, what you do now, they got new product out where it doesn't slick it; it'll just kind of hold it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So
You
you
think this happens naturally?
I thought that was old school gel.
Oh no. This is like paste, baby.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't realize you guys spent so much time on your hair.
I know.
Styling cream. Yeah, it's styling cream.
You would think we would look better if we did, but we don't. It's fine.
Then there's KT and I over
Just
here.
wear a hat.
Yeah. Throw on the mean green hat.
Yep.
Supporting the Texas Rangers in North Texas at the same time.
Absolutely.
So, okay, nothing wrong with that. But just about 4 days until team personnel show up in Indianapolis for the 2020 NFL Combine. And, of course, combining our efforts, as the words of Kevin Turner, we're going to go through the NFL Combine from a general term at the beginning of the show. We're going to go through kind of what exactly is important about the NFL Scouting Combine. We got Twitter on the 20 coming up in the next segment, and then in the final segment, we'll look through some of the specific players and teams that are going to be looking for certain things in the Combine. But kind of to start things off here today, guys, wanted to kind of talk about, in terms of coaches, scouts, teams, all the personnel that are going to show up on Sunday to get this thing started, what is the highest value of the NFL Combine?
Take a page right out of Dane Brugler's playbook and let you know that it's the medicals.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's, it's very obvious. This is going to be a very interesting departure for the NFL Combine this year, the lengths that the NFL is going to monetize it, basically. I mean, it's true. Drills are moving to prime time. Interviews are moving to morning, afternoon. They're doing that in a bid to increase TV ratings. The reason I bring this up in the first place is that I think the NFL is desperate to get the Combine out of Indianapolis. But NFL clubs love having it there because it is a centrally located city with 3 or 4 hospital facilities right there downtown. It's very easy to bus 300 players around and get CAT scans, MRIs, medical, what's the word I'm looking for? Physicals. Thank you, David.
You're welcome.
It's just super efficient. And that's one of the biggest reasons why this happens in Indianapolis is because it's all right there. It's all easy to get to. And they've been doing it since the late 80s, so they know what they're doing.
Something shouldn't change. Like the sexy events, the Super Bowl, the draft.
Yeah.
Put them in the big cities
Yeah.
right here. this is a little dirty work. We're getting serious about the combine and the draft. Put it in Indianapolis and keep it there.
That is the great tug of war, though, is like that is you just spoke for football people everywhere, scouts and evaluators, and the moneymakers see things differently. That's why drills are happening at night now. I'm fascinated to see. I don't know how much longer the contract runs there, but I'm very curious to see if it stays in Indianapolis long term.
We'll move the combine to Chicago, and good luck getting from the north side all the way to the south side to go get your players who are getting checked up.
But for it
becomes a beating.
It's cold out there.
Javon Kinlaw, Jeff Sky, a million other guys are going to go through there. Guys that we don't even know of with medical issues are going to crop up. Remember, I think it was 2 years ago that Maurice Hurst was a favorite to be the Cowboys pick in the first round at 19. Had an irregular heartbeat and fell to the 5th round.
Yeah, Reggie Ragland, too. Remember the Alabama linebacker?
There's an Alabama guy with medical issues
There'll be one guy that's got a heart problem that will happen. You'll find it. It's and that's kind of the scary thing about evaluating too. Like, okay, I don't try not to let the combine change too much. And then there will be things that happen medically that make you, okay, well, I can't have this guy up here on my board anymore. And then there's other elements of the combine as well that makes you go, okay, well, it's hard to know, like for us, because we're not going to be interviewing the players, but for the teams, they will be changing their board based on all kinds of little things that happen in Indianapolis that might not even be on the field.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty to look at when it comes to the medicals. You even talk about interviews. I know a lot of teams look at these interviews as their first contact with some of these guys and really trying to find out exactly what was the laugh there for.
Well, no, I just think when I think about the interviews, I think about how insane it is, and they've changed it to 18-minute interviews now instead of 15-minute interviews.
I think, but they also cut the number that you get from 60 to 45.
Yeah. So I'm going to get fewer players in, and I'm going to use those 3 minutes on these guys that I've got targeted. What can you know about a person in 3 minutes?
Well, I
have no idea.
You can get them into a staring contest. Like that was the big thing that came out of last year's combine, right?
Figure out if they got a tongue ring.
Okay, yeah, you think that's going to stop you from drafting the guy?
I don't know. Ring? Didn't Kamara have a thing at the combine where somebody asked him about something, a piece of jewelry, a nose ring or something, and they were like, "Can you take that out?" Or that doesn't look professional, and he was like, "Don't draft me."
Wow. I'm gonna do me.
It's an annual thing though. Darius Geis, the stuff, teams asking him if he was the one that he said that they asked if he was gay, I believe. Like, just all kinds of bizarre stuff comes out of these interviews.
Well, last year,
every single year.
Yes, I am, Coach, and you can't. I got to tell you, you're looking good today.
I don't know.
You uncomfortable? That's a you problem.
Don't draft me. Fine.
Don't draft me.
I'll go to your division and beat you. Last year, I think the favorite one because there was no really track record on and there was no rap. I guess is what I would say. There was no rap sheet on
Taylor Rapp.
Well, I'm going Ja'Kai Polite. Polite, the Florida edge rusher, and then here comes up. Well, some teams just really weren't vibing with him. They didn't really like the way he carried himself. And I'm like, can you rush the passer? And then it turns out he does fall all the way to day 3, and maybe some of those things were warranted.
Oh God! And
he showed up fat to the combine too, and had a terrible, terrible, terrible combine.
Yeah. How many years ago did Reuben Foster freak out during the medical evaluation? Which it was
like 3 years ago.
If you think about it, you're waiting around all day to go through this stuff. Like I don't think people quite understand. Like we only see these players for the hour that they're on the field running drills. Mm-hmm. The rest of the time, you're just being ushered from interviews to medicals. You're waiting in line to get in the MRI, all that type of stuff. And Reuben Foster didn't handle it very well. So there's a lot of interesting stuff that can be gleaned from this, however mundane you might think it might be.
This is a strange one, but because he went in the first round. But do you think the Vikings had hardcore discussions with Laquan Treadwell when they're meeting with him at the Combine about picking up route concepts and having to learn a way different offense than he was running at Mississippi where he only ran 3 routes?
Yeah.
Do you think those conversations happened? Because they would have been tipped off to, man, maybe this is a bit of a red flag. And I know they make him go do board work sometimes and things like that. Like, I just don't know, like, I don't know how much you can find out about a person in 15 minutes. I think it's coming to decisions like this.
I think you brought Treadwell up on purpose, just to make me feel bad.
No, I think
Well, it would make everyone feel bad.
we all feel
everybody
bad,
thought he was
right?
good. We all screwed that one up.
Yeah, that was one of those kind of surefire things, and it wasn't as surefire as we thought. But kind of going back to what Dave said, talking about the entirety of the week, I've got the schedule out here. This is the general player schedule, top to bottom, and it starts Sunday where the tight ends, quarterbacks, and wide receivers arrive in Indy. Then you've got registration, orientation, interviews, measurements, pre-exam at the hospital, interviews, then the next day media, medical exams, position coach interview, psychological testing. Then you've got the NFLPA meeting, interviews, bench press, psychological testing for a second straight day, limited testing and interviews, and on-field workout, and then you'd leave.
I would show up.
That's all in 5 days.
I think I'd show up on day 4 whenever we get on the field. And they'd be like, hey, you're supposed to be here for all these other things. And I'd be like, yeah. And if that hurts my draft stock, that sucks.
So be it.
But, man, that sounded terrible.
That's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And how long do we get to a point when, I mean, you look at right now in terms of training camps and OTAs and things like that, people are skipping for contract reasons. How long till we see some of these high-end college guys skipping combine exams and workouts and things like that?
If this keeps going with, moving the drills tonight and like
making it a television event,
and it becomes more profitable and starts getting legitimate TV ratings, I don't think that's far behind.
Yeah.
Especially, and to KT's point, how much can you really learn about a guy in 15, 18 minutes? Not a lot. That's why this is just one or the first step in the process. That's why if you really like any of these guys, you're going to bring them to your facility and spend 2 days with them.
And a lot of these guys, not all of them, but a lot of these guys have someone training them on what to say in almost every situation.
Absolutely.
So is that really getting to know someone who's telling you something just so they can make a little more money? And that's what we're talking about here. We're talking about the difference in back of the first round money compared to third round money, or how far a guy could slide. You got to go through all that stuff. If you don't show up to that stuff, teams aren't going to trust you. They're going to think something's up. Of course, I mean, there's way more that goes into it than we could even talk about. But and there's so much of it that we probably don't even know, But I'm always I always think it's funny that I remember the year. I've only covered one combine, I'll be honest. But I remember Jeff was at a podium. And he was talking to Jared Goff, and that was the story of the day, was the measurement of Jared Goff's hands. And you know what? It might still matter, given how he's played in cold weather. But I just think it's amazing how much a little bit of freak out happens when we're talking about a quarter of an inch.
I want to get into that in the third segment, though, because, I remember that, too. And it's silly, but,
it's kind of...
Some of this silly stuff has meaning to it, too, which is what makes this so fascinating. I just think... we're reaching a breaking point at some point soon with the combine in terms of is it a money-making event? Is it an evaluators event? Actually, I read this morning the Rams and the Broncos aren't sending their staffs to the combine. They're sending their, their upper echelon people, but everybody else is staying behind because they're we can get everything that we need to get out of this from afar.
Well, I think every team should do that.
Why?
I don't want the coaches there because I don't want the coaches drafting the players. I would much rather my scouts be the ones that are it's really weird to me in the NFL how many teams empower a coach to have a big voice in a draft room. Because if you've hired people who you think are capable that are in your scouting department and they spend literally years working on each player, we got this. We can rank these guys. We're okay. We'll pick the right guys, and then you coach them. I don't want the offensive coordinator and the defensive coordinator there falling in love with the prospect and hey, where you guys got him? Oh, third round. All right, well, we're going to take him in the early second. Okay, coach.
Appreciate you.
Don't worry about my work. No problem. And guess who gets fired if he can't play? Not you, coach.
Yeah.
I do.
Yeah. That's the blurry lines of job description.
Yeah.
Is all that is.
Yeah.
Hey, what are you here to do, head coach? Go win games. Well, what's the best way to win games? Well, what is his job description?
Well, I want to pick my players, too.
Is he here to make the offense better? Is he here to call plays? Is he here to, there's so many things that go into that. That's where it becomes very interesting because I'm sure there are some coaches who are very good at evaluating players. But, I think in general, and we've seen this happen here, where we feel pretty good about previous drafts, maybe not immediate, looking at last year, hasn't really paid off yet, but they didn't have a pick till the late second round. But, we feel pretty good about the track record they've put in building this roster over the last 5, 6, 7 years. And a lot of that's because you get the vibe that, for the most part, they were letting the scouts do their work. Now, you still have these examples of going, man, I think Rod Marinelli got his guy here. Or I think Kellen Moore got to pick Tony Pollard here, whether that was true or not. You still have those examples of things happening. But for the most part, you feel like Will McClay's kind of let the scouts do the work and they go do the right thing.
Yeah. Well, and kind of sticking with the entire draft process, I mean, the drills at the Combine, even though that is the primetime television, that's what all the fans want to watch, it's such a small piece of the entire draft process. You got the Senior Bowl to kind of start it off, Combine measurements, medicals, etc. Then you go into the drills, and then after that, then you've got pro days and everything else where you see even more drills, even before you get to the Dallas days and the extra workouts that these teams have. But that brings me to the question of how relevant are the drills at the Combine? How much do scouts kind of paying on to this? Because I was talking to somebody in the scouting world just a couple days ago, and he said, in his opinion of it was, it's for show. It is for show. You've got the 40-yard dash, the bench press where they put 225 on the bar, and then you count the reps from there, vertical jump, broad jump, 3-cone drill, shuttle run. There's so many different drills here, but how relevant are they?
I think they're relevant. It's just a matter of what you're using for which prospect. And I think that's why we're seeing changes, because I think a lot of people realize that a lot of it's outdated. The bench press is pointless.
Yeah.
There is no point in the bench press, which is why it won't make it long.
Yeah.
Maybe if you wanted to do something in a weight room that truly measured power in some way.
Yeah, what would you do?
Not bench press.
Power clean?
Okay.
Hang clean? I don't know. I'm not sure exactly. But like the bench press, who cares? I don't, even as an offensive lineman, I don't block just by punching you. There's so much more that goes into it. But just for example, when we get these guys whose job it is to rush the passer, I want to know their 10-yard split when they run the 40. I want to know their 3-cone, and now I want to know their hoop time.
Yeah.
Since there's a new drill where we're going to run a figure 8.
Yep.
Because, yes, I want to know if you're flexible in your ankles. I want to know if you can turn the corner. And your tape will give me a really good idea of that, but I want to verify that with your athletic testing. And if you do that, then, hey, check, 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 and now you go in the top 10. Like, for different positions, there are different things that to me matter, but there are also a lot of things that they're doing that couldn't care less.
It's very funny. Yeah, like the 40, everybody knows it's overblown. You know, things like the vertical and the broad, like they demonstrate athletic ability, but I think we would all agree it's not necessarily that important, assuming you hit a certain threshold.
Sure.
But then, like, you know, if you listen to this show, there's a pretty good chance that you're active on Twitter or other social mediums about the draft, and like, people hang on those 3-cone times, though.
Oh, yeah.
Like you want to see the 3-cone times for pass rushers, shuttle times, anything that demonstrates your bend or your change of direction is like a big freaking deal.
Well, and it should be.
And it will be this year. Absolutely.
I think it should be, because if you're a pass rusher and you want to consider a guy a great prospect, then I think there are pass rush tools that you almost have to possess. And one of those is I can win outside. So I want to know how quickly can you get off the ball, and I can measure that. I want to know how quickly can you flatten the corner to the quarterback, and I can measure that. So I do think those ones matter. And then there's other positions where almost nothing matters. Like for running back, I couldn't care less about a single drill you do. I'll watch you play, and I'll do a better job of evaluating you than this.
I would like it if you could get under 4.7 in the 40-yard dash.
Yeah, I don't
that
like.
needs to happen.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm
needs
just
to
saying.
happen.
Yeah, I don't want you to run like me.
Yeah,
But
I mean, so.
I should be able to tell on tape.
Yeah, that's fair.
And there's just, like you said, there's specific drills that kind of correlate with specific positions. And I threw together a list of these kind of as a cheat sheet for those who may not know the NFL Combine. There's a lot of information on a graphic for those of you watching at home. Now, feel free to disagree with me here. These are just my opinion on what counts in terms of Combine cheat sheets. I have the quarterbacks as the interviews, the most important part of the weekend. The running backs, 3-cone drill, wide receivers, vertical jump and 40-yard dash just to see speed and burst, and then the 10-yard intervals. I've got the tight ends at vertical jump, offensive line, broad jump, and 40-yard dash. The defensive line at broad jump as well, along with the bench, which I know you just said bench doesn't count, so I feel like you're going to disagree there. Edge rushers, 3-cone drill, shuttle run for the linebackers, position drills for cornerbacks, and then safeties, also position drills, and then the shuttle run there as well.
You know, a position that I found myself over the years kind of watching the time on a little bit is tight end a little bit, because I do want to know what's the difference. Is Hunter Bryant really going to be that much faster than Cole Kmet? You know, does that affect how you think of things a little bit? So that's where I kind of look at the 40s are more at tight ends than it is the wide receivers, and like the Henry Ruggs is going to be sexy, and Jalen Reagor, those guys are going to run, really well. That's what everyone's watching. That's what the primetime stuff is for, right? But like the tight ends, I do like watching those, and some of those corners too. You have some corners where you kind of look at their time and go, okay, I don't know if he can run that well. I don't know if he plays that fast. But I think all this is just a hodgepodge into, like we were talking about the 3-cone drill a little bit. It's all about expectations of the player as well. Well, if you've studied some of the player, I'm not necessarily expecting A.J. Epinesa from Iowa to have the best 3-cone drill. That's
but what if
not
he does?
Who he is. But what if he does?
What
and
if
that's
he
what
does?
changes things. So like that, those are the things that kind of use this as just a little bit of evidence to add to the complete courtroom case of what this player is.
It's just a supplemental informational grab is kind of what it is as a whole. And that's kind of why I wanted to talk about the relevance of these drills and where exactly those will come out. And we'll talk about some of that relevance later on with specific players and who needs to perform where. But when we come back, we've got more Twitter on the 20. We'll answer your questions. Use the hashtag Twitter on the 20 and tweet us at The Draft Show. We'll be back in a moment.
Your new apartment's big. Such a great deal.
It's okay.
Just okay? What's not to...
Right above the subway!
Well, I bet you don't even notice it after the...
That's my neighbor, Angus!
A deal that's just okay is not okay. Get a great deal with America's Best Network. Come into an AT&T store to find out how to get one of our popular smartphones for $0 down. Based on GWS 1 score September 2019.
Do you want the most interesting, up-to-the-minute Dallas Cowboys news straight from the Star in Frisco? How about exclusive and on command? That's right, news and nuggets you can't find anywhere else. With our exclusive Cowboys content on Alexa, you can have all the answers, secrets, stories, and more. What's Stephen Jones thinking during a game? What's Joe Looney's favorite pregame meal? We take your questions to Cowboys players and coaches, and you can hear the answers directly back to you. Just say, Alexa, open Dallas Cowboys.
Whether you're into being a part of this or more into something like this, SeatGeek has the tickets to the events you love. It's the easiest way to find, buy, and sell tickets. Plus, with their Deal Score technology, they'll recommend the best seats in the house at the best value. So the next time you're craving this...
Ready? Blue 20!
Download the SeatGeek app and let's go. SeatGeek.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's that time again for Tailgating with the OtterBox Boys.
OtterBox, the company that builds wildly overprotective phone cases?
The one and only. But cases are just the start. OtterBox is the official outfitter of tailgating.
If they can keep my phone safe, what can they do for my parking lot party?
How about protecting your beverages from suboptimal drinking temperatures with their elevation tumblers? And OtterBox elevation tumblers come in 3 sizes: a 10-ouncer, a 20-ouncer, and even a 64-ounce growler.
Check out all the colors and sizes of their elevation tumblers at otterbox.com.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
Look at that. We're up on the big board at the Tostitos Plaza outside the Ford Center here at the Star in Frisco.
Is that Photoshop, or are we really on the big board?
No, we're really out there.
Yeah.
I mean, nobody's out there because the weather's not great, but
That's the only reason we were allowed to be up there, I guess.
Yeah.
Super cold out there.
Yeah,
Not
it's
awesome.
Not great. Not great, especially after what was just a fantastic weekend, and then now it's gone back to being cold. But luckily, most of the combine is indoors.
Yes.
So don't have to worry about that a whole lot.
Snow in the forecast for us next week, buddy.
Is it really?
All right.
Yep. Yeah.
Oh, great.
Indy's the worst.
All of our
Oh, don't say that.
It's the worst.
Indy is a nice town.
It's a nice town with negative 30-degree wind chills during the combine.
Okay.
When
I've
the
never
first time
been
I
here,
went,
so this
I
is
wore.
gonna be interesting.
I took a hoodie, and I thought that would be okay.
That's
Oh, man.
Kyle, don't do that.
I got to go
Jeff.
repack.
No, you need to get things that say on it like cold weather Arctic gear. I
What
had
year
to
was
borrow-
that? What year was that? I know.
Dang it.
It was 2014.
Yeah.
The internet existed. That's on you. Just Google.
No, but my mind.
I'm glad
didn't-
he's saying something right now because I packed a hoodie and a couple shirts.
I couldn't compute it.
You already packed?
yeah, I've got to go to Austin this weekend.
Oh, that's true.
I leave after the show.
To me, cold
Bring
weather means
layers.
wear a hoodie.
Okay.
No.
That's what cold means.
Bring layers.
I wasn't familiar. Layers aren't enough.
Bring a
Get
beanie.
a real
like a legit
Get a
ski jacket.
parka.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Real
I
life.
got one of those. I think I'll be okay.
I took an Uber. My hotel was at the stadium. It was across one road. And I called an Uber in the morning, and they pulled
To
up. They said,
walk
"Where are you
across.
going?" I said, "To the stadium." They said, "You're there." I said, "The entrance is on the other side."
You're a coward.
And I'm not walking.
You're a coward.
That's what I did.
Indy's a fine city, and
Slippery Noodle's a great place.
I won't hear any slander against it.
It's a great place.
It is. All right.
I'm excited about that, but I'm also excited about getting into some Twitter on the 20.
Twitter on the 20.
Nice.
Got it that time.
You
again.
have arrived.
I've done like 3 or 4 of those in a row. I'm pretty happy about it. Let's go to the first question. This one comes from Daniel, and Daniel asks, if the first round goes as perfect as possible and Jordan Love was looking at you in the second round, am I the only one who would take him at 51 if I were the Dallas Cowboys?
I guess if you get a quarterback who's going to go in the top 20 at 51, I'll take him.
In what world is Jordan Love going to be there at 51?
How about Jake Fromm? Jake Fromm's at 51.
I'm good.
No. 51?
Yeah.
Can we talk, like, if he's there on day 3, we can talk?
Oh, see, I think he's going to go before 51.
No, I think, you think Fromm will?
Fromm or Eason?
I think Fromm will go before 51.
Jake Fromm being out of Georgia, of course.
I think Jake Fromm's catching a lot of hate. Jake Fromm's catching a little too much hate.
I don't think you're crazy for thinking that because quarterbacks are always overvalued, but I would not draft him at 51.
Well, okay, just for the sake of Jordan Love, quarterback out of Utah State, exactly. I know, like you said, you're sold that he's going to go top 20, Jeff.
He'll go in the first round and top. I would make an even money wager that he goes top 20.
So are there 4 quarterbacks first round eligible?
Oh, I think there's 3 quarterbacks going in the top 6.
Yes, because you'll have Burrow,
Tua, and Herbert.
Tua out of Alabama, and then you've got
because look at the
Justin
teams
Herbert.
picking there. Cincinnati needs a quarterback.
Yeah.
Detroit might want a quarterback if the Stafford rumors are true. Miami wants a quarterback. Chargers want a quarterback. There's 4 in the top 6.
I don't think those rumors are true because, like, the Lions can't get rid of Stafford without just destroying their cap.
But you might, because if the rumor were true, then it would signify to me that they're going to tank. And then what do I care if I take a $32 million cap hit? I'm tanking.
But they also said, like, we're keeping Patricia and the GM, but they have to perform next year. And so tanking is the opposite of that.
2 a time.
Okay, I mean, hey.
2 a time.
Okay.
To answer the question,
yeah.
What was the question?
I can't tell you honestly because I'm kind of following. Look, I was taught by Brian Broaddus, and when the Cowboys don't really need a quarterback, I kind of sit around and go, well, we assume our free agent quarterback. The Cowboys don't need a quarterback.
That's fair.
But I don't do quarterbacks until the end because honestly, it is just so hard to watch a lot of these bad quarterbacks at the end of it.
Yeah.
So I do quarterbacks at the end. So I've just seen a couple things from Jordan Love. So until I know more, I can't even give you a proper answer on this.
What did you think about Jordan Love at the Senior Bowl?
I think Jordan Love is a really good player, and like he looked good at the Senior Bowl. I watched him play LSU just because they played this year, and he was good. He is a talented guy, and it's the classic case of like, if he was on a better team, how much better would he look?
Small school guy, small school competition.
And the thing I've learned is like if NFL teams think you have talent, they're going to draft you high. Like that's just what I mean. Literally, it sounds crazy to say this now, but we started out the draft show in 2017 like, you think Pat Mahomes is a first-round pick? Like, his tape's so crazy. Like, how do you even get a read on this guy? Goes top 10, best player in the league.
Yeah.
Which, obviously, I'm not saying that's going to happen with Jordan Love, but, like, if you play quarterback and NFL evaluators think you have the talent to start in the NFL, they're going to draft you high. Nobody thought Daniel Jones was a top 10 pick until the Giants
did it. And then he blew up and was there.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, we're talking about like Washington. We're talking about if you're Washington, you can't trade out of there. Chase Young's an elite prospect. Well, if Jordan Love turns out to be a capable NFL quarterback, he's infinitely more important than Chase Young, even if Chase Young goes to the Hall of Fame.
Absolutely.
Because that's the name of the game. The
Yep.
quarterback has a massive impact on the outcome of a game, and no other individual player does. So, yeah, Jordan Love, if somebody thinks he can be a starting quarterback, he should go in the first round.
And I think he will. And I think Fromm, it wouldn't shock me if he goes as high as you say he will. The thing for me is we all agree, like, by the time April 23rd rolls around, we think Dak Prescott will be signed.
Sure.
Hopefully.
For the purpose, or at
Or
the very,
tagged.
or he'll be tagged.
Or tagged, yeah.
Either way, like,
He's here.
He's here. He's the guy you're committing to. How can you afford to spend basically a top 50 pick on a guy that you are hoping won't play?
I mean,
because you're grooming him during Dak's year on the tag.
And then you're going to let Dak go?
Yeah.
Okay. And
that would be the theory.
And
Jeff
Jake,
smile and kind of grin here.
That would be the theory.
Okay.
I can't tell if it's tongue in cheek or if you're legitimately excited about it.
Oh, no, I would not be excited about it.
Okay.
Well, I mean, I'm a team builder at heart, so I'd be interested in it.
I'll say this
You would
right now.
entertain the option.
If you want to do that with Jordan Love, I'm at least intrigued. If you're trying to do that with Jake Fromm, I'm so out. Like,
Yeah, I
I'm
agree.
so
I
freaking
agree.
Just trying
out.
to find somebody to keep this thing on the track, Dave. I don't need superstars.
Just need a game man.
Yes, you do.
Yes, I
That's
do.
literally
It's
the
the
conversation we're having right now. It's like, well, Dak's pretty good, but he's not a superstar. Like, if you're moving on from Dak, it better be for a clear upgrade. Jake Fromm's definitely not that. I doubt Jordan Love is either.
Pretty good for cheap. Works out.
We're kind of talking about some of the
No,
scenarios with the
that's
Cowboys.
not true.
EJ Wilson brings us our next question. Who are some likely teams willing to trade up to 17 if the Cowboys want to move down a couple of spots? And what players would still need to be on the board for this to happen?
New Orleans and New England, Jordan Love.
Jordan Love is...
New Orleans and New England are at 23 and 24. You get Jordan Love to make it to 17. One of them comes up for Jordan Love. You move back, take a DB, and you pick up a second or third round pick.
I will say this, though, and I'm 100% on board with you. And like quarterbacks drive trades a lot of the time, but that's not always the case. Like we talked about this a few shows ago. Like the Saints did a crazy trade for Marcus Davenport a few years ago. I think it's either a quarterback or the last of what some team views as an elite prospect. So for me, I'm sitting here thinking of offensive tackles. Because we've talked.
Mekhi Becton or Andrew Thomas.
There's 5 or 6 of them that can probably plug and play. And if a team that needs one is down to their last guy, let's say, I'm looking at the list right now. Let's say Willis is going to go. Jedrick Willis out of Alabama is going to go early. I said I'd get better at saying school names, so there you go. Andrew Thomas out of Georgia, Tristan Wirfs out of Iowa. Mekhi Becton out of Louisville. I know there's one more. I think
probably thinking
Josh Jones out of Houston is in that range.
There could be 6 OTs.
USC
taken.
man,
and I think you could put him up there just as well as Austin Jackson.
Austin Jackson.
I think you could put him up there just as much as Josh Jones. So 6 or 7 possibly worthy, offensive tackles. We've seen teams though reach. Over the last few years, some names that come to mind is the 49ers taking Garnett from Stanford a few years ago. We've seen the Seahawks panic and take an offensive lineman, late and you go, or was someone taking a guard? I remember the Lions taking Laken Tomlinson a little earlier than I think people thought they would at offensive guard. And I don't know if there's those interior lineman prospects are there, but maybe a team does get a little nervous about their interior offensive line, and a guy like Cushenberry or Cesar Ruiz or one of those guys ends up going late in the first round.
So, and go for it.
No, just I'm looking at team needs. I mean, the Patriots, which they're in that. Jeff just mentioned them. Another team that the Miami Dolphins traded Laramie Tunsil last year. Mm-hmm. They have a pick behind the Cowboys, assuming they don't trade it away to get somebody.
They have 2 picks behind the Cowboys.
Yeah,
they have number 26 as well.
If it's not a quarterback, then I'm looking at elite prospects who are about to go off the board.
Okay,
offensive tackle makes a lot of sense because there's so many of them.
Eagles or Bills
coming
for a receiver or a corner.
You were talking about the Patriots and the Saints, but the Bills have 22, just ahead of both of those teams. However, their 2 needs right now are edge rushers and wide receivers. And those are 2 of the classes that we've talked about that are very top-heavy come draft day. So I could see the Bills potentially being a move to go up and get maybe a Ruggs if he's there at 17 or a Rager if they like him that much, or even getting an edge rusher, one of those guys that ends up falling. I think Buffalo could be a team that you could talk with.
If I were them, I would probably sit still on receiver.
I would too,
because the guy I like the most for them.
I feel like it would be more likely with an edge rusher if they one of those edge guys.
And I don't like the class.
Yeah, but you never know.
No
how
matter
these
who
teams
the
are gonna
Cowboys
feel.
pick at 17, if they pick a pass rusher, I don't think I'll like the pick.
Well,
maybe Chason. Maybe.
I think I would like that pick at 17. Honestly, I watched AJ Epinesa recently.
Yeah.
I'm scared of rushers who can't turn the corner.
I'm comfortable with him at 17.
I think I'm not fist pumping if AJ Epinesa is the pick, but I'd be fine with that.
Yeah. For the Bills, I would want Laviska Shenault, I think, at receiver. And I don't know if you have to move for that.
You're not going to move from
because Josh Allen isn't going to be pinpoint accurate. He never will be. But if I can just get a guy who it's like, look, just get him the ball and watch him work. I think Chenault works.
Yeah, that makes sense. But he's another combine health check guy too.
Yeah.
But the thing, we saw this happen a few years ago with Taco Charlton when the Falcons traded up to get ahead of us. At least we thought they took Takk McKinley.
Yeah,
that hasn't worked out great for them.
No,
but the Falcons picking at 16 again, and I've kind of pinpointed them down as the team who's going to take this year's Ryan Shazier type that makes you go, okay, well, we were going to take him, but I guess we won't. But I'll also say this. The more I've thought about this and the longer we've gotten, there's not a ton of names at 17 that I'm going to be high-fiving and excited about. There's a lot of players I will be comfortable about at 17. And that's what I'm kind of saying. To me, the difference in 17 and 24 for what this team is going to be doing, likely going defense, I'm not sure that there's a huge difference in high five level, I guess is what I'm saying.
Yeah,
if that
and
makes
you can
sense.
still add some depth on the back end with a couple extra picks later on.
It does make sense, and I think most people would be happy if the Cowboys managed to trade back in this draft, assuming they stay in the first round. But you need somebody to want to come up, as always.
Well, and this draft's kind of set up, and we've seen this in the past, but this draft is kind of set up, and I don't know what the specific number is, but to me, 12, 13, 14, that area in the draft, all the way to 28, there's a little difference, but it ain't a huge difference in what we're talking about there because it's a very clear top tier of players plus the quarterbacks. And then you're just kind of sitting there going, okay, I was on the 8-8 treadmill. I wasn't able to really get into that mix there.
Now, what would be a defensive player for you that would be a high five for the Cowboys?
For them?
Seemingly, if the medicals check out.
That's what I'm kind of saying. I said I don't know. I mean,
probably Javon Kinlaw, correct?
Kinlaw's the guy. That's the one I think.
That brings up our next Twitter on the 20 question. Matt Holdridge came out on Twitter on the 20. He said, assuming the medicals check out and his knee, how close would Kinlaw have to be for you to trade up for him, or do you stand pat because you don't want to lose more draft picks?
You would have to pull up the chart because I did this yesterday. If you wanted to go up and I played the game, if I wanted to go up for a defensive player, and I went with the three guys that I have above Kinlaw, like Derek Brown, Okudah, Isaiah Simmons. If one of them makes it to 10, your 1 and your 2 gets you there. In theory, it gets you there, and you're overpaying by a little bit, which is probably realistic. But if you're talking about getting to 14 or 15, can I get up there for a 4?
These charts are, they vary. There's not a universal one, but the one I'm looking at, Cowboys pick at 17 is worth $950. You said 15, so they're down a difference of
100 points.
100 points to get to 15.
And what is that? Is that less than their 3?
Their 3 is
about
worth 180. But again,
teams aren't going to do that deal in the first round.
Well,
to 2 spots,
they would probably.
They wouldn't take.
I would take somebody's 3 to move down.
No,
2 spots.
No. I meant if you're going by the chart, I would say it would be the 4th would be the accurate number.
Right.
The teams, I don't think teams will do that.
And that I think you would have even to move as little as 3 or 4 spots in the first round. I think you'd have to give up your 3rd.
What about a
pick.
future 3?
No, I could give up.
That's what I was thinking. What about future
They're worth
picks
less,
as well?
but in theory, I'm overpaying if I use this year's 3. Next year's is worth less because it's a year away. I would give a next year 3 for Javon Kinlaw.
Yeah,
I think
I'm talking about. You're saying a 1 and a 3, correct?
I'd go from 17 to 15 if he's there, and I would give up a future 3.
I don't think teams would do that though. To move away from what is probably a blue chip player at pick 15, probably.
I think the other team definitely would. I don't know if. I don't think it makes sense if you're at 17. I mean, if you've identified your guy, and you feel like you've got to get ahead of Atlanta. Maybe, but if I'm Denver sitting at 15, I'll go, yeah, I'll take your future 3. You're going to give me a premium draft pick? Okay, great. To jump back 2 spots? I'm good. But this Cowboys are a little more urgent. I think the Cowboys' window to win feels a little more urgent than it does for Denver. But I was looking at the second rounder. If you want to give up the second round pick, just doing the math. If you're going by the math.
Get you to 10, maybe 9.
That can get you up to that, 10 area.
Yeah.
You made a good point.
I hate this. I really do.
You made a really good point, KT, about
what happened to Okudah?
Win window.
Did his leg fall off at the combine?
Yeah. 3 quarterbacks went in the top 6. Some offensive tackles went. Derek Brown went. Somehow Okudah got down to the 9-10 range. You give up your 1 and your 2?
But
I mean, I
don't think about it. Yes, you do. He's awesome.
I don't like it.
How far?
Man.
You're 1 and your 2.
You're a team builder over here.
Seriously.
Team builder guy.
I don't know.
You wouldn't give up a 1 and a 2 for Okudah?
Yeah. Here's the
if he falls so far, then there's got to be something wrong with him.
Well, no, we're playing the game.
You know what?
Like, it's not impossible that him or Derek Brown or Isaiah Simmons gets to 9 or 10.
It's not impossible at all.
The Cowboys' track record over the last 3 years is not so sterling that I trust them to hit on every pick anyway. So, yeah, I would probably do it for a guy that good. A cornerback who you would hope would be elite for 5 years before you have to worry about paying him.
Okay.
I could do that.
So you're in the mix, and then you're back there at 82, and you're going, my God, I haven't done anything at safety, and my defensive line's the same thing.
Well, okay, the defensive line is going to be turned over in free agency.
Talk to me after. That's what I said. Talk to me after free agency, then I might be more willing
we're
to.
We're going to plug every hole in free agency. Not but we're going to address everything.
The problem is that with the contracts that are coming up for this team, you need to be able to replace it with cheap labor. You can't do that without draft picks. So, I mean, in a hypothetical world where I can get Okudah for that, I probably would. But, like, I'm not giving up a draft pick to go up 2 spots to get Javon Kinlaw.
You need bodies that are cheap at the same time.
Yes, you need good players that are playing for cheap.
You need to hit on the picks.
And
they've had a problem with that.
But you can't hit on them if you don't have them.
I can hit on them if I go get them in the top 10.
Then you have fewer players.
Yeah, but I hit.
But then you have what you have right now, which is
the Pro Bowl.
Then you have a small number of expensive players and nobody else.
Your guy's inactive on Sunday, and my guy's going to the Pro Bowl.
Okay. That's a low blow. He wasn't my guy.
Once Kinlaw goes, I'm going to go ahead and get Sean Payton on the phone. Let's see if he wants to make a little noise.
Yeah,
see if
I
he
have
wants
a top
to get
12.
on up here.
I have a top 12, and when they're gone, ripcord.
Let's get on back there.
Let's back it on
stock up on those minimum wage players you're talking about there, Dave.
If you could add another second or third by moving back 5 spots, I think that's a best case scenario.
You know who likes to party? Seattle will party. They'll party both ways. They'll trade up and down.
What is it?
To 27. You get on back there. You can get your safety there.
What does Seattle want that they're coming up from 27? That's a big jump.
Don't worry about that.
Okay.
Just know that they'll party both ways.
Y'all are just trying to have fun without
Seattle
thinking
needs
about
an
the
edge rusher
repercussions. I respect it.
So they've got some guys to go out
their
there.
Their offensive line still sucks too.
He's going to Mardi Gras. He's mad at us for having fun.
No.
Yeah, after missing last week's show.
Oh, am I here?
In
New
Orleans.
Right? Ask us a question. Get another question.
Well, we're going to break is what we're doing. We've got to go.
I wanted one more.
Do another one.
Okay, how about this? Real quickly.
Do another one.
Hunter Gaspard, he goes on to say, are there any potential top-tier players that have to have really good interviews? And we talked about Polite earlier, but he uses him as an example from last year.
Well, don't show up overweight and out of shape. That would be step one. Interviews.
I got one.
Go ahead.
Top tier might be pushing it for this guy.
Okay.
I would not call him a top tier player, but I would call him a day 2 guy. Damon Arnett from Ohio State.
Ooh, that's a good pick.
Just watched him yesterday.
He's my number 25 player right now.
The concerns are beginning to trickle out about him from a character standpoint.
I was about to say, it was a character side, right?
Me terribly uncomfortable to talk about a guy's character I've never met before.
Yeah, it's messed up, KT.
But yeah, he's
got to know a guy in 15 minutes.
He truly does need to go interview well. He absolutely does.
What about Joe Burrow? With all the Cincinnati talk and
he's untouchable.
I know
he has a functional hip, so he gets to go number 1. He's safe.
I mean,
he wins.
But just for the sake of playing along with the headlines and the hypotheticals, he's talking about how he has leverage.
His Cincinnati interview matters. If he walks in and says, "I'm not playing for you, clowns,"
every year. Which I mean, okay, Josh Rosen he fell to 10. And that was after months and months of speculation of that he was the worst person in the world and impossible to get along with.
I went to his birthday party.
As long as Joe Burrow doesn't take a dump in the interview room, I think he'll be fine.
I got some wide receivers who you're going to need to Juwan Jennings.
Oh, my guy! Whoa,
He's
whoa.
awesome.
No. Whoa, what's he doing?
He got some questions.
What's the questions?
Just got some off the field questions.
Well, you're just assailing people's character.
What? No, I'm not doing that.
He was dismissed from the Tennessee program.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And came back. He had to earn his way back on the team.
Well, when he got back,
junior year.
Yeah.
When he got back, you know what he did? He started catching the ball and running everyone over.
Freaking yak all day, every day.
You see the South Carolina tape?
He returned with rage.
he had the
rage.
He had some marijuana stuff, which maybe won't matter in the future. But
man, I hate that.
And then he had a whole thing where he went on Twitter and started blowing up his coaches online.
Well,
and then he stepped on a player's head against Vanderbilt. Quentin Cephas, who I love out of Wisconsin.
You do love Quentin Cephas.
There's some things on him as well, and also the guard from Louisiana that I think people are talking about a lot now, Robert Hunt.
Mm-hmm.
He had a wild thing where him and like 13 teammates broke into an apartment and started stealing stuff, so he's going to need to have a good interview.
13 teammates in one apartment?
It was a weird thing, man.
KT is all over the red flag report every year.
I was about to say, how are you so on top of all
He was also arrested for something else in the spring of 2017 that was really bad.
This is what he's into.
It takes shady to know shady. That's why.
He wants to know all the red flags so he knows if one of these guys drop, he's still a good player.
Yeah, so this is Robert Hunt was in the spring of 2017. He was one of 13 Louisiana players to break into his dorm room and steal electronics and jewelry.
My God!
But also others say that he's seen as a joker and displays a lot of positive energy on the practice field. So maybe you're getting a pretty good
hopefully,
thumbs up there.
Hopefully his interview goes well, so he gets
too.
drafted and pushes other players to the Cowboys.
Okay,
that would be great.
Yes.
Are we okay to go to break now?
Yeah,
David?
we can go to break.
No breaks.
I mean,
we've got one more break.
This is internet radio.
One more break.
Okay, sorry.
Well, I'm
One
not
more
staying
break.
until like 12:30 again.
No, we're not going until 12:30.
Okay.
When we come back, we'll look at some of the specifics of the NFL Combine and some of the players that need to show up, maybe with or without some red flags when we return here on the Draft Show.
I've got some questions about Logan Stenberg from Kentucky.
Want to use what the pros use? How about the official men's skincare brand of the Dallas Cowboys, Jack Black? Right now, you can get the Jack Black Starter, a curated collection of Cowboys locker room favorites for just $10 with free shipping. The starter includes 4 Jack Black skincare favorites, plus a full-sized intense therapy lip balm. Go to getjackblack.com/Cowboys and use the code word TEAMJB. That's getjackblack.com/Cowboys. The Jack Black Starter, $10, free shipping.
Whether you're into being a part of this or more into something like this, SeatGeek has the tickets to the events you love. It's the easiest way to find, buy, and sell tickets. Plus, with their deal score technology, they'll recommend the best seats in the house at the best value. So the next time you're craving this,
Ready? Blue 20.
download the SeatGeek app and let's go. SeatGeek.
I'm Jay Novacek, former tight end for the Dallas Cowboys. Back in the day, I was the guy who always got the tough yards, and that's why I run with John Deere today. In fact, I have a John Deere 3025E tractor that can handle any yard work I need to do, even the tough yards way out back. So if you have 1 acre or 1,000, John Deere has the equipment that's just right for you. Visit a John Deere dealer today and run with us. We are the official tractor provider of your Dallas Cowboys.
Your new apartment's big. Such a great deal.
It's okay.
Just okay? What's not to...
Right above the subway!
Well, I bet you don't even notice it after the...
That's my neighbor, Angus.
A deal that's just okay is not okay. Get a great deal with America's Best Network. Come into an AT&T store to find out how to get one of our popular smartphones for $0 down, based on GWS 1 score September 2019.
This is the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show.
One final segment here from the Star in Frisco, the DallasCowboys.com Draft Show. Here from the SWBC Mortgage Studio, Jeff Cavanaugh, Kevin Turner, David Hellman, and myself, Kyle Yeomans, with you. Thanks for joining us again. We'll be live from Indianapolis next week. Dave Hellman and myself. Are we going to be with Bucky Brooks next week?
I'm sure we'll see him. Yeah,
I don't know if he's doing all the shows.
I haven't ironed out the
show.
details of whether he'll be back with us yet, but
we'll have plenty of guests throughout the week. We'll be on Radio Row.
The entire freaking NFL world, it will be in Indianapolis. So
it's all at the touch of a finger, all at the fingertips. I don't know what the saying is.
Yeah, you stumbled there a little bit. That's okay. You're a pro broadcaster.
Yeah, I'm just going to move past it. It's okay. Let's talk about some of the specifics of this combine coming up, some of the specific players and guys specifically that need to have good combines, whether it be because of the red flags that KT was talking about earlier, some of the medicals as well. But let's start off by inflating Dave Hellman's ego just a little bit. Here are the schools with the majority of representation in Indianapolis. And by far, no surprise, it's the LSU Tigers up at the top of that list. David smiling ear to ear at the moment.
I mainly feel guilty because, we keep talking about LSU players, and I swear to God, I'm not doing it.
Where's Texas?
Not doing it because I'm a homer. There's just so many of them.
There's no
it's
Texas.
Insane. Honestly, other than LSU at the top, the thing that jumps out to me, which, obviously Utah was very good at football this year, but 9 for Utah.
Mm-hmm. 9 really good ones,
yeah,
too.
And
we've got Michigan and Ohio State with 11 at 2 and 3. So I thought that was kind of interesting. Then Alabama, then Georgia, then Auburn.
Michigan's got Ohio State type talent without the
dubs,
without the production.
Trying to run Harbaugh out of town, are you, Dave?
I'm just saying, win something. Anyway,
Find a quarterback.
I'm with you on that.
But yeah, plenty of SEC representation there as well because Florida's down at number 9. Then they round out the top 10 with Miami. But with that being said, like you said, there's a lot of specific players in there that are, like you said, with a lot of good competition throughout the season. You got a lot of good tape on them. But with the Combine come these injury questions, and that's our next graphic that we're going to pull up, is some of the Combine players that have some injury storylines. Not all of them are going to be listed here. I only have 4 up there. At the top of the list is Javon Kinlaw, South Carolina defensive tackle, had some knee tendonitis issues, missed the final practice of Senior Bowl week, and then also the Senior Bowl as well. Brandon Ayuk from Arizona State, the wide receiver, had a minor groin injury. He missed the Senior Bowl as well. Tua Tagovailoa from Alabama, quarterback, and I just threw them all up there. Hip, ankle, thumb, knee injuries, all in his career.
Everything.
But the hip is 100% the focal point. And then Ashton Davis out of California, also with a groin injury.
Ashton Davis, Brandon Ayuk, and Javon Kinlaw really had very little to gain at the Senior Bowl. Maybe more for Ayuk and Ashton Davis.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what's great about the Combine is you kind of get to a point where there's no more hiding behind knee tendonitis if that's not really what it is. So we'll find out if that's what's really going on with Javon Kinlaw. And if we don't, they find a way to cover it up, and then we find out at Combine rechecks a month later.
It will come out.
It will come out, and we'll finally know. Because the whispers
find you.
The whispers have been there since, the end of last year. What's really going on with that knee? I don't know. Not a doctor. We really need to find out because that will impact things. It'll impact the way this team thinks about the draft. Ashton Davis is a guy who this team could be interested in.
No, yeah, both of those guys. And shoot, I'd even throw Ayuk in there with the depth of the receiver class. It's almost like I've kind of got a peg on him because I'm like, I want to know more about this injury before I really dive into the possibilities of drafting him. So.
And Ashton Davis is a name that at 51, if he pops up and he's available at 51, a lot of people are going to be high-fiving over that pick. Now, I don't know if I would classify it as a high-five pick myself, but I would be interested.
At 51?
At 51, I'd be interested.
Oh, I thought you meant you wouldn't be happy.
Well,
I would be happy. I wouldn't be high-fiving.
You got to tell me who's on the board.
I think it would be a solid pick.
You had to tell me who's on the board at the time.
That's a good point, too.
But, there's so many guys. There's Lucas Niang. He's a tackle from TCU who's got really good tape, but they had to shut him down because he got a bad hip. So, okay, what do you do with that? They shut him down. Let's find out what the Combine checks. He's a guy who could sneak into the top half of the second round. Maybe could sneak into that little. We were talking about the offensive tackles, that Josh Jones, Austin Jackson area.
Go,
Lucas
do it.
Niang,
Say it.
Lucas Niang is really good, but he's got a bad hip. So what do we know about it?
Terrell Lewis is a guy that piques my interest too. Yeah,
that's my guy.
He comes with a lot of injury concerns.
Oh my God,
tore his ACL. Bama players.
He's got Kavanaugh knees.
Yeah.
Well, he does not. I promise you, he does.
But man, he was bullying people at the Senior Bowl. 6'5", 250. 11.5 tackle for loss last year. Like, he's a hell of a player. But can I trust him to stay healthy if I draft him?
When Kyle sent out the text the other night of who are some guys you're trying to get the graphics on board, he's the guy I forgot to send. Because Terrell Lewis, to me, if the knee checks out and he does everything at the Combine, and he will. I think he'll do the 3-cone, he'll do all that stuff.
Then he is edge number.
Are we talking?
Wow. KT's face was on camera just there.
2 or 3?
I'm asking you.
For me,
edge number what?
I'm excited about the upside there. And it's a gamble. It's going to feel like a gamble because of where you're taking him and the history. But
He's only a junior.
Take the juice off
Young
the
player.
edge. I think him and Chaseon's going to blow up the combine most likely.
Yeah.
And I think you'll see Chaseon and Terrell Lewis if things work out for him.
Start climbing.
And then, does Epinesa fall? Does Matos from Penn State fall?
I think my guy Gross Matos might get help at the combine.
I think he will
I think he's going to test well.
I think he will too. I think
he's going to run a 4.59.
Really?
Wow.
4.59?
Yeah, I think Gross Matos is going to run a nice 40, and then I'm going to pull for him to have a nice 3-cone so I can feel good about how I feel about his tape.
He's a very fun player at times. Sometimes you go, okay, you just get swallowed up by the run, but then sometimes they'll bump him inside, and he's just 6'5". I mean, he may be 6'6" when they measure him at the combine. I mean, he's a very long player.
As long as we're doing this, I'll throw one. And this is a guy who I don't even know what to do with him. I feel like the narrative on him is fluctuating as we go. But Marlon Davidson out of Auburn.
Okay.
I'm in, and it's not from a medical perspective, but from a testing perspective, because Auburn used him all over the place. He was at the Senior Bowl. He played a lot of tackle. He played some edge. If he blows up the way we're talking about with Gross Matos, I think that completely changes the conversation on where you draft him.
And you had him as one of your guys, or your guy in terms of.
I definitely want to see
these are the rise or fall lists.
He is a guy, and you always have to stress what the media is talking about has nothing to do. There we go. Oh yeah, that's my guy. What we in the media are talking about has nothing to do with the way teams see these guys. Teams might see Marlon Davidson as a first-round pick right now. Yeah. But if he goes out and runs this badass 3-cone, then he's going to jump into the consciousness of those of us who are on the outside. Absolutely. So I think he's got a lot to gain.
Now, you guys across the table both have wide receivers as your most likely players to rise or fall. Jeff, you have Colin Johnson, Kevin, or KT. I don't know why I called you Kevin. KT, you have Courtney Davis, and then I've got Jordan Love as a quarterback out of Utah State. We talked about him a little bit earlier, but kind of going on the wide receiver thought process here.
His mama called him Kevin. I'm going to call him Kevin. It's Kevin Turner over there. And KT. Colin Johnson's interesting because you can watch him go against a lot of different good DBs on tape throughout the year. One that jumps out to me is Jeff Gladney against TCU. And there are reps in that game where he makes Jeff Gladney, who might go in the first round, look like a child.
Yeah.
Now, there are reps where Jeff Gladney gets the better of Colin Johnson, but there's times where on a stop route, he's able to move him 6 yards at the top of the route and catch a ball. He's able to, down the field, just go pluck it, and a lot of times just kind of nudge his way open. So Colin Johnson's got a really big catch radius, and he's got a lot going for him. But on tape, he might be about to run a 4.68.
So that's the funny thing is we poo-pooed the 40, and most draft nicks do, but he needs to run a really nice 40 time if he's going to do something drastic to his draft stock.
Oh yeah, I think he's a day 3 guy. Now, if he shows up and it's like Colin Johnson ran a 4.49, it's like, okay, let's reevaluate.
Let's talk about this.
And that's where these little things now, when we talk about the wide receiver group specifically and how hard of a stack that's going to be to put together, that is where these little things at the combine might push guys. I have Courtney Davis on my list, and he's the wide receiver from Texas A&M. Because about 2 weeks ago, I received a text from an inside source. You guys all know who it is. And he goes, yeah, he's going to run a 4.3 at the combine.
Wow.
Now, in the 4.3s, not a 4.30, but he's going to run a 4.3 at the combine.
Yeah.
On his springtime, I had him at a 4.53. You watch him on tape, he's a guy who's great with the ball in his hands, but he has drops, and he's not a great route runner. He's got some inconsistencies to his game, but the size is there, the speed is there, the explosion's there after the catch.
He's good blocking-wise, too. He showed that off at the Senior Bowl. He had some physicality to him.
And one thing I wanted to talk, we haven't talked about the gauntlet yet. The gauntlet's my favorite drill of the whole dang thing.
So among the many changes, they're timing that now. And I think they're just doing it to make it more competitive, like to kind of get these guys' juices going.
I think it's more for TV.
Yeah, no, that's what
for the viewer.
Competitive for the players, but also more entertaining for fans, for sure.
Well, the gauntlet's where they run horizontally across the field, turning both sides of their body to catch the ball. Is he going to catch the ball with his hands well? Is Hunter Bryant from Washington, the tight end that everyone's in love with, and I like a lot too, how's he going to look?
I like the guys who can't stay on the line.
It's amazing. Sometimes they float. The guys look sometimes uncomfortable, and then sometimes you get a guy who just comes in there. It's the most smooth thing.
It's so much fun to watch when a guy's just got vacuum hands, just It's great.
It's beautiful. And like how they turn their hips when they're running across the field. The gauntlet's a fun drill, too.
See, all of these drills are not pointless. We've got
some
things watching here. Just some of them might be pointless.
They're not pointless, but because this is becoming a TV event, they get blown out of proportion.
It's a good point.
Is Byron Jones a good player because he set the world record at the broad jump at the combine? No.
Our tape had him as a first-round corner before the combine.
Combine,
it's a piece of the puzzle. To that point,
as a cornerback,
Colin Johnson can have super impressive tape, and he does at times. If he runs a 4.8, that means he can't separate at the NFL level. And so, as much as we bash on the 40, it is important. It's not so much that anything's worthless. It's you just have to weigh it properly.
Well, it's a piece of the puzzle that we'll continue to evaluate over the next couple of weeks, but that's going to do it this week for the DallasCowboys.com draft show. Thanks so much, Jeff.
You're welcome.
And KT. For joining us. We'll see you in a couple weeks. Enjoy watching some stuff. Dave and I will be live from Indianapolis next week as the DallasCowboys.com draft show hits the road for the second time this season. We'll be back in just a little bit, or next week. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys?